So with year 7 season 1 coming to a wrap, and in just 1 week, the season modifier is going away, many of you guys have been asking me, yo Skillz, will the Striker Hasbro build still work in year 7 season 2? And will it still be the meta? Well, first thing I will say is I honestly do not know what the meta will be until we get our hands on the newest seasonal modifiers. But what I can 100% tell you is the build will 100% work in year 7 season 2. As you guys are seeing, we have 0 modifiers active at the moment, meaning we are still running the Backfire with the bleed. Now, unlike when you run this build with the seasonal modifier, you have 100% Hasbro protection, but since we are not running the seasonal modifiers to show you that this build will still work in next season, well, we are going to be sitting at around 70% hazard protection. And now that we don't have to worry about having all blues on the build, we were able to make some modifications, so we're still able to put out some insane amount of damage. As you see here, we are hitting 1.1 to 1.3 million. But one thing I will tell you is when I was making this video, I forgot to add one more crit chance mod, so I was a little bit less than the crit that I wanted to. But when I break down the video, I will have the right amount of crit that you need to have on this build. And like I mentioned, modifiers are off, so yes, this build can technically work next season. So we are running the Backfire SMG, and the reason why is because of the way this SMG works. Remember, dealing damage to an enemy adds a stack of plus 2% critical hit damage up to 100 stacks, meaning we can have up to 200% critical hit damage. Now, many of you know the downside to this is on reload, it applies a 10-second bleed to yourself, which is 0.5% armor damage per stack. That's why if you don't have enough armor or you don't have enough has protection or bleed resistance, this will automatically kill you. Now what you're gonna see here is I'm about to reload and you're gonna see the bleed kick in. But did you notice I didn't die and I had enough Hasbro protection that the bleed, instead of lasting 10 seconds, it only lasted about 4 seconds. So I was able to get right back in the battle. And that's what's great about this build. Now, once I have 100 stack on my Backfire, I will no longer bleed again. So that means you don't have to worry about the Backfire putting you on bleed. And again, once you're at full stacks, that's when you're shredding with this build. And hopefully by now, most of you guys know how the Striker Battle Gear set works. The 2-piece gives you that 15% weapon handling, which is accuracy, stability, reload speed. The 3-piece gives you that 15% rate of fire. And the 4-piece, again, this is why we love Strikers. Weapons hit increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up 100 times. And that's where you see a lot of the damage come from, is the Striker 4-piece. On the mask, we do have armor rolled on here, and we have hazard protection and critical hit damage. For our second piece of Strikers, we have the holster, we have armor and hazard protection. For our third piece of Strikers, we have the knee pads with weapon damage and hazard protection. For our fourth and final piece of Strikers, we have the gloves, and that's going to be weapon damage and hazard protection. For the bag, we are running the Memento backpack. Remember, this is going to have weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. That's why it's really good. We do have a critical hit damage mod, but the reason why this bag is so good is because of talent kill confirmed. Remember, this has a short buff and a long buff. So every time we pick up a trophy, we are going to get 5% weapon damage for every red core, 10% bonus armor for every blue core, and 5% skill efficiency for every yellow core. And that lasts 10 seconds. But additionally, we're going to have long-term buffs, which if you look at the bottom right, you'll see under the little arm that's flexing, it has a full bar. That means I'm sitting currently at 30% weapon damage. Now, I also have 30% skill efficiency and 3% armor regen. Now, to refresh this, all I have to do is get 1 kill and pick up a new trophy, and that will last 300 seconds. Now, this is where a lot of the survivability comes through because of the bonus armor you get, the armor regen, and then remember, we do have some armor on kill because of the specialization, which we'll get to in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the chest piece. So for this one, we are running a Yao chest piece. This is going to give us that 10% hazard protection. We have armor on here. We have 10% hazard protection roll. We have critical damage and a critical hit damage mod here. Now, again, you're going to probably want to put critical hit chance here, so that way you can have the crit chance you're going to see in a second. And then for the talent, we have obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. Now, this stacks up 20 times, could be 20% extra weapon damage. Now, another talent a lot of people like running is intimidate, because you gain additional 36% weapon damage. But remember, the enemies have to be within 10 meters, and you have to have bonus armor to trigger intimidate to work. I think both are really good. I personally like running obliterate because you don't have to think about always maintaining that bonus armor. And not only that, you don't have to worry about maintaining always being within 10 meters. But don't get me wrong, Intimidate is a very, very strong talent. So just decide what talent you want to go with. With this build, I went with Obliterate. Now for the specialization, I love the Gunner specialization because it gives you 10% armor on kill. Every third reload is 50% faster. You get the Banshee Pulse when you run the Gunner class, which is actually really good to use. You generate 10% ammo every 60 seconds. Your rate of fire is also increased by 5% on kill for 5 seconds. And that just allows you to have more damage, right? Because you're getting 5% rate of fire on your weapon, right? After every kill. You're also getting that survivability for the 10% armor. And then let's not forget to mention, every third reload is 50% faster. What does that mean? That means you spend less time reloading and more time firing your weapon. Now remember what I said about Memento Backpack. Every time we pick up a red trophy, we're gonna have 3 red bonuses. So what does that mean? 15% extra weapon damage. Every time we pick up a blue trophy, we have 4 blues, so we're getting 40% bonus armor. Now, if you wanna run maybe an extra blue and just run 2 reds, you can do that. If you wanna try it at running maybe 1 extra red, you can do that. But just always remember, your armor regen that you're gonna be getting is affected by how much armor you have on the build. So that 3% armor regen is gonna be stronger at higher armor. But you also get more bonus armor for every blue you have. So just keep that in mind. And then the same thing with reds. Yes, you may hit a little bit harder, but you might not have as much survivability. So finding the right balance is your job with your playstyle. Some people love running more reds. Some people like running more blues. You could definitely play this on the more red side or more on the blue side. It will 100% work. If you look at our stats, we have 52% crit chance, 96% crit damage, and we are sitting at 70% hazard protection, which is 70% bleed resistance. And that's gonna help for all statuses, not only just the bleed that you're receiving from the Backfire. And to be fair, I will tell you that I'm not sure how much I'll use this build because of the red screen. I wish maybe the Division 2 would have an option where, yes, I don't mind taking the bleed damage, but just don't make my screen flash red, because after long gaming sessions, it does become very annoying to see your screen flash like that. Even though the bleed isn't killing me, just seeing my screen flash every time is just a little too much for me when I'm playing the Division 2. Now, I will tell you though, I do believe that the build will still be used by many because of how strong it is, right? The Backfire isn't a bad weapon. It's actually one of the better weapons if you pair it up with the right builds. And I feel like a Striker Has Pro build still has a place in the meta for the next season. Because remember, even though my crit damage only showed 96%, that's not taking into account the 200% crit damage I get for 100 stacked Backfire. So remember, that's 296%. A lot of crit damage there, and we're sitting at what, 52% crit chance? The build hits very, very hard. So what we're gonna do here, guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys, appreciate the support. Remember, if you guys wanna ever catch me live, you guys can head over to twitch.tv/NothingButSkillz, and we should be live Monday through Saturday. So hopefully I see you guys over there. Don't forget to drop a follow. See you in the next one. Nothing But Skills is out.